Niche capiche. Oh my goodness, guys. We are so excited here today at Amplified. My name is Starla Moore. And who is this fellow over here?
I am Chris Heckman. How you doing, everybody?
And today we're going to be talking about niches and why you need them, which is something that I think a lot of POD sellers really misunderstand or really miss the mark on, which is why we're here today, to help clear some of these common misconceptions and confusions up. So, Chris, do you want to introduce yourself and let them know why they should even listen to us in the first place?
I would love to. So my name is Chris Heckman. I've been selling e-commerce and print on demand for about 8 years. And I'm the co-founder of mysticpod.com. And in this talk, we'll be covering everything that I've learned from running 7 different brands in a wide variety of niches and all the mistakes I made.
Absolutely. And my name is Starla Moore. I sold on Etsy for 10 years making handmade jewelry and then slowly moved over into POD about 1 year ago. I now actually create officially licensed merchandise for authors for some of the most popular fantasy books in the world, including A Court of Thorns and Roses and From Blood and Ash for any of our fantasy readers out there. So very, very fun niche. And you have some fun niches that we'll be getting into very soon as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So first, to start off, you want to take us through, Starla, how would you define, what is a niche? Where do we begin?
Well, think about that thing that you're absolutely obsessed with. The thing that you think about in your free time, the thing that you tell all of your friends about, that thing that just lights you up and gets you so excited. A lot of sellers, when we start talking about niches, they'll tell me that their niche is shirts or their niche is mugs, but who the heck is obsessed with shirts? Shirts are an industry, not a niche. A niche might be shirts for cat moms, for example. So do you have that happen a lot within your communities as well?
I am, in fact, a cat mom, so that does happen to me quite often, yes. But when I'm not being a cat mom, what I'm also doing with my time is yoga, enough to say that I'm a yogi to a certain extent. Once a month, that's all you need. But for example, a great example of a niche is this store here called Yoga Stay, which we ran, which is in the yoga niche. So to your point, we were not in the t-shirt niche. It was not our product we were selling. We pictured who are yogis and what are things that they would be interested in. Like what kind of sayings, designs, patterns, what would really resonate with them, and then we built a brand around that. And on the flip side, pretty much the opposite niche of being a yogi is this brand here, History Tees, which was another brand that we ran, and it was targeted at history lovers, aka history buffs. And in this niche, we were serving, sarcastic, funny phrases and references that history buffs would find interesting. And it brings up the interesting question, that makes sense. I get, yoga's a niche, history's a niche, but why do we have to pick one to begin with?
Well, when you have a niche, you're more targeted. There's so much more that you can do with a niche and with that ideal customer and how you market your products.
Yeah, and on top of that, when your marketing becomes more meaningful, it makes your advertising become more effective. It makes your email marketing, your relationship with your customer, it just strengthens everything and helps people establish a relationship with you as the brand rather than just you as, another seller. Exactly.
You become a professional in the field that you want to specialize in.
That brings up the next question of so now we know what a niche is, we know why we need it, so how do we go about finding them? And Starla is an expert in all things data, and we're going to take a deep dive look at how she approaches it. But my simpler way to get things started and just get the ball rolling so we get some ideas is I start off with writing down a list of just 10 hobbies or things that I'm interested in. And I know some people out there are thinking, well, I don't really have any hobbies. Trust me, you do. Just anything you do on a daily basis, just jot it down on a piece of paper. So my list, for example, would be coffee, travel, yoga, reading, walking, ice hockey, talking about print on demand, chess, road trips, dogs. Just jot things down. And then the next thing is picturing in your mind, out of all those 10 things you wrote down, which of those have you seen on the bumper sticker or on, somebody has gotten a tattoo about that topic? Those things, when you circle them on that list, is normally a great place to start because that shows that people are passionate enough about that topic that you're also a part of, that they would put it on the back of their car, make a tattoo, and ultimately would probably buy a t-shirt.
After Amplified ends, we should all go get matching Printify tattoos.
I already got mine, so you guys can catch up.
Darn.
And a further example of like, so we start off with these broad ideas of, yoga, coffee, like where do we begin? Like how niche is too niche? And a good example that we can look at here is like, if we just start with yoga, that's a little bit too broad. But if we go a layer deeper and talk to people who like Bikram yoga or hot yoga, then that's a even more targeted message that really resonates with your buyer and helps you really stand out. So that, as competition grows and things like that, you're always able to pierce through that veil and speak directly to your customer by being extremely targeted.
Yeah, and I love that for the data side of things as well, because when we think about keyword optimization, trying to rank on Etsy, especially for something like yoga, that's going to be next to impossible.
Right.
But then when it comes to things like, your long tail keywords, which I'll be talking about later today, long tail keywords, something like hot yoga t-shirt, that is a very specific type of product, and it would be much easier to rank in search on any platform, whether it be Etsy or even Google search or Amazon. It would be so much more significant to use something like hot yoga t-shirt as opposed to just yoga tee.
Yeah, and I think we were talking about this the other day, how I think we picture that, I don't want to go so niche that there's not going to be anybody in my audience, but like there are so many people on the planet. There are so many people that are into hot yoga and like another type of yoga but that you don't really have to worry about it. And you can always start broad and then niche down later is the way that we normally go about it. And on that topic, as we decide like how should we niche down, let's ask this question, but how should we validate the niche and what's wrong with this picture, Starla?
Well, I don't know. It really seems like there's something going on here. I can't quite lay my finger on it. Maybe the audience could let us know. What's wrong with this t-shirt? Type in the chat, let me know what's wrong with this design. Here's the problem. When it comes to creating a design, whether it be on a t-shirt or a mug, whatever it may be, if you're disconnected from your niche, you are going to create products that miss the target. You're going to create products that people look at and they say, oh, that's weird, that's obscure, that is not something that I would ever want to wear on a giant design on a shirt, right? So you want to make sure that you're hitting these very specific niches, but you also want to make sure that you understand those niches. So for example, in my own niche with fantasy books, what if I accidentally made a shirt about the worst character? I love this awful character just because I looked up on Goodreads and saw that this was the name of a character from one of my books. Remember, specific will hit that target every time. And plus, you'll learn to love what you do. And that is a big part of it. If you don't love what you do, you're not going to have much fun doing POD.
Exactly. And it just makes it so much more natural, like coming up with ideas when it's something that you're truly a part of yourself, rather than, like you said, like feeling like you're reaching for ideas. And just to go back for a second, just because maybe I'm just slow, but I missed this yesterday. The design should not say goal. You don't score goals in baseball. I learned this. So
I'm hoping that the chat has already established that.
Yeah, they are smarter than I am, so most likely. But moving on, the finding and validating a niche, like you want to be original, be part of the community that you are trying to sell to, and be passionate about it. Make it something fun, like you said. And I don't know about you, Starla, has that like always served you well in the niches that you've approached?
Absolutely. I love what I do. I love working with these authors for books that I already read. I love reading these books, and to be able to work with these individuals and create merchandise for them legally, that's a very important part of this. No copyright infringement. It's so fulfilling because I get to read books as a job. That's so fun.
That is fun. And along with we're going over to, let's dive into some data. How about that?
Yeah.
I don't want to ruin anything that's coming up.
That's perfect.
So we talked about, just to recap, we've talked about like why we need a niche, what is a niche, how to validate it using just like kind of finger in the wind type of like good things to get the ball rolling. But now I'm a big fan of data and you're an expert at it. How do we make sure that before we invest all this time and energy in like, we see ourselves being print-on-demand sellers for next 6 months, year, down the road, we want to make sure that we make the right choice. So how do we validate that, not just with our own gut instinct, but how do we back that up with some numbers that we're able to look at and make sure that there's people out there that are actually in the niche that we're thinking about?
Exactly. Well, the proof is in the pudding, and I'm about to show you guys the pudding. But the important thing when it comes to understanding this data is that we have to remember that we might have a fantastic idea because it's something that we're passionate about. For example, maybe I love underwater basket weaving. It's my passion. I love to weave baskets underwater, but maybe nobody else wants to do that. It's such an obscure thing. Data is going to tell us if there is demand for the ideas that we've come up with. And that's what we do over at erank.com, where we actually are able to give you an idea of things that are trending. So if we can share my screen and show the audience, a couple of my favorite areas of erank.com. You're seeing a dashboard right now. Lots of great things on your dashboard when you connect an Etsy shop to erank.com. But a great place to start as a new seller is our Trends tab right here. I specifically really recommend checking out the monthly trends right here, because the monthly trends report is going to show you the top 100 most searched products on Etsy. Plus, you can also select by different categories. Now, thankfully, Printify has provided us with some of the top POD categories, like embroidery, mugs, hoodies, phone cases, shirt stickers, sweatshirts, and tote bags. So let's look at tote bags. I think that I've been traveling, you've been traveling, bags are I just packed my bag to go back home to Ohio. So let's see what we have. We'll take a little scroll down, lots of different categories to choose from. But look here at the very first thing. Halloween tote bag. I wonder why that's trending right now, Chris. Why do you
No idea.
Why do you think that Halloween tote bags are trending?
And just to put this into I'm a Shopify seller primarily. So for explaining it to me, these are searches that is backed by Etsy data, showing you guys are essentially going out to the market and pulling the data to be able to tell people hey, this is how many people are going to Etsy, typing in this word and hitting enter. Exactly.
We have average search volumes for how many people are searching for these items, and then we're able to build out these trend reports that are going to give you detailed ideas of what the vast majority is interested in when it comes to these topics. So if we look, we can actually hover over and see this is August, 3,730 people searched for Halloween tote bags. As of October 1st, we will have all of September's data, and that number is going to skyrocket. We can also see that this trend was consistent last year. What this tells me is that every year around this time, Halloween tote bags are going to trend. So if you're creating Halloween tote bags, these are the windows that you need to list them. Before August, you want to list them before you see that big spike. So for now, it's a little too late for those, I feel like. However, there's other fantastic ideas like teacher tote bags, for example. Check out this nice big spike, probably, I'm assuming, at the beginning of the school year, July, right? And the one that stands out the most to me here is number 13, nurse tote bag. Look at those consistent searches. And then we look at October and bam, we have a nice big spike. This tells me that right now is the time to list nurse tote bags. But if you wanted to make nurse tote bags your whole niche, this is a safe bet because we can see that it is trending all year round. The second tool that I recommend checking out is within our keyword research tab, or you can actually just go right up to our search bar at the top and type in any idea that you might have. So for example, we decided to start with pickleball because I've noticed that it's been very trendy lately. We'll go ahead and do a quick search and let's see how trendy pickleball really is. I've never played pickleball. I don't know.
Oh yeah, it's fun.
Is there pickles?
Yeah, there are. I'm not very good at it, but it's a great time. It's good. It sounds good, wholesome, family fun.
Oh, great. It sounds briny. So we can see that the average searches for pickleball, those are fantastic. We can see that there's great clicks. That tells us that when people search for pickleball, they're interested in the items that they're seeing on those pages. Now, the competition is high, but I'll tell you how to kind of work around that in just a moment. The main thing, though, that I love to see is this nice big spike in August, right? This is telling me that right now pickleball is hot, especially in the US and a little bit in Canada. So I definitely would say that US takes up a majority of the pie here. Now, when it comes to actually deciding on products, we can, We can take a scroll down. Okay, my finger is not cooperating.
And while you're pulling that up, like the beauty of a tool like this and the way that I would approach it personally as a new seller is that we're going through things obviously like one by one to like explain it in detail, but the power of a tool like this and just doing research in general is like there's no limit to the number of niches you can research. Like
exactly.
You can do high volume, you can search through dozens, if not hundreds, and just build up a database of tons and tons of ideas, and then take a second pass and look at it. So like there's nothing saying that, you know, as a new seller, you have to pick one and then like that's it. Like you can do a lot of research and like basically do iterations, like do a second look, third look. Is that how you think about it too?
Exactly. Like make columns and then what's the hottest out of these and then which one am I most passionate about and then narrow down what you want to sell. Because we can see here, pickleball shirts, those are on the list. You could do that. Pickleball gifts. I love pickleball ornaments because the searches are decent, but check out this nice big spike for the holidays. November 2023, last year, this tells me that people were interested. That means that this year, people are going to be interested again. The competition is low. The searches are high, 6,520 last November. This is the time to list these products. I just gave you guys a freebie. I gave them a free niche with low competition. They could go make money right now on this.
I think this might become a popular niche and a high competition after this. But and the beauty of this is like, obviously this applies heavily to Etsy sellers, but then even on the Shopify side, the way that we can apply like these kind of findings is that what I always tell people is that if there's a high demand for something on Etsy, it also means that there'd be demand for that other places. Like those people aren't just on Etsy, like they're on Facebook and Instagram. So like it applies across the board.
Yeah. So Chris, what about general stores? Because a lot of people say, well, I have a general store. I sell a little bit of everything.
Yeah. And it's a tantalizing idea. Like it sounds good in theory. Like if I just take a bunch of bestsellers, a bunch of good things that people like, put them all together, it kind of loses something. Like in this example we have here, like if you saw a sign that just said tattoos and then a bunch of bullet points about how good their tattoos are, you'd be awesome. But as soon as it says like they fix flat tires, they have a palm reader, live bait, voodoo dolls, aside from wanting to meet the owner of this place for sure.
Yeah, for the pickled eggs, definitely.
Exactly. I have no desire to ever go in there and, you know, do business with them.
Yeah, if you try to appeal to everyone, you will appeal to no one. And a great example of that is Walmart versus Pottery Barn. Walmart, what do they specialize in? I don't know. I don't even like to go to Walmart. There's just so much stuff. It's overwhelming. I don't know what to look at. And if you go to Instagram, what are you going to see? Definitely not a beautiful styled feed that I want to follow. I'm not going to see anything interesting. But Pottery Barn is very aesthetic. It's very clean, and you can visualize the type of home, the type of person. I'm kind of picturing maybe like suburban, housewife, family, maybe even a little bit of money. All of these things kind of come together to create this perfect niche that you can just picture in your mind, the exact type of person that would shop there. And when you understand this, you're able to create products specifically for this ideal customer.
Yeah, and bringing this all the way back to like the examples we mentioned at the beginning is like if we take two of the niches we talked about, like yoga and history, and we take the very top sellers, like designs that did extremely well, probably would have found some research back in this if I had used erank back then. But if you take these two top sellers that in their own collection, like the heavily meditate, when it's surrounded by yoga designs, does extremely well. But then as soon as, and this is an example of like what it looked like side by side with the designs it's meant to be with. Same thing with the history designs. It's in a collection where it fits in. But then as soon as you take those designs and if I was to take heavily meditate and put it next to all these other history
and muddle
figures,
it up.
Exactly, and it just feels like it devalues it, and it makes people kind of confused and hesitant about working with you or buying from your shop. So I think bringing it all together, like my biggest takeaway or thing that I've learned for when it comes to niches is just not overcomplicating the process. Start with something that I myself am passionate about. Starting with a broad concept, but with the intention of niching down once I've either done the research or had some sales come in and going in that direction. But I don't know. What are your final thoughts?
Do your research. always prioritize the fun, always prioritize the passion. That's the most important thing. Don't create meaningless products that you don't have any connection to, because eventually you'll burn out and you'll learn to hate it. And we all want to love what we do. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We appreciate you all so much. And Chris and I will both be speaking here again in just a little while, right?
Yep, we're talking about marketing in just a few minutes. Thank you guys.